Alright, in this video I'd like to show you what you want to do the day of the test when you're prepared to give students the actual assessment. And so what I want to do is just open up a couple different things before you actually give them the assessment. When you walk in the door and you're ready to give the test, the first thing that I like to pull up is the response teacher tools. Depending on where you have the teacher tools located on your computer, you may have them pinned here on the side, or you may have a copy of the teacher tools here on the or the class set on the computer. So I'm going to open this up. This will allow me to get in and see my students. This will also help me if I need to show them or tell them their student ID number, which should already be set up from your class list that you've already created. So I've got a training class here, and just to show you, I click on the training class, or in your case it may say first period, second period, however you've ordered your classes over here on the left side. Click on students, and I can see now the students. I can order them by last name if I need to. I can order them by first name or student ID. So Tim McGraw, student ID is student ID number 1. This is helpful if I need to have the students log in if they can't remember their information. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is click on Home, and from here I want to start the class. Okay, when the students come in, you want them to be able to log in using the responders. So they can't log into the class until you start the class. I click Start Class, and now what I see is the classroom name. This is what they're going to be looking for on their responders, and then I can see the number of students who have logged in the class. The classroom name is something that you created when you created your gradebook. So if I go back to gradebook and I click Edit, you can see the classroom name here is Training. In your case, it may be your last name, it may be the subject of your course, it may be your room number. I would prefer the last name in there for your classes, but you do however you want to set it up. So now I go back to training class. I can see the number of students logged in. This is where I would have my students then log into the course. When they turn on the responder, pull up the simulator here and show you. When they turn on the responder, what they're going to have is they're going to have a power button up here. They're going to hold down for a few seconds. Once they do that, on the screen here, it will say, it may list some classes there. My advice for the students is to all the time, no matter if you've already given them the assessment before, if they've already logged into your class before, my advice would be to scroll down to Find a Class using these arrows and hit Enter. When they hit Enter on Find a Class, you'll get arrows that pop up across the screen here, and it will say Finding Classes. That just kind of resets everything. That gets the most recent information. They may log in and see your class and click Enter, and they get in and everything's fine. But if they choose Finding Classes, they're guaranteed to kind of reset things and get your class. They may see multiple classes there. If they do, that's okay. Tell them to use these arrows to scroll down and find their class. When they find the class, they're going to click Enter, and then it will ask them for their student ID. So for example, if Tim McGraw were signing into my class, my training class, as the teacher, what I would want to make sure that he knows is that his student number is number 1. So this is what can be opened. As they log in, green circles will pop in there, and it will tell them the information. It will show them that they've logged in. That way you're able to go and tell me that, Jimmy Buffett, for example, has not logged into the course. Okay, and so this is important. You can see that, and you can help them out. Now, once all the students are logged in, you want to keep this page open. This is important to keep open. So I just like to minimize it. As the students are logged in, what they'll see on the screen is it will say, like, Welcome to Training Tim McGraw, or whatever their name is. They can't go any further. They can't do anything because you have not started the assessment. At this time, you may want to pass out the test. And once you pass the test out, you want to make sure that you have your Smart Notebook 11 questions, your test, for example, that you're giving open. So this is a test that I've created. I did the Create Answer key. I'm going to now give the assessment. And what I have to do is open up the Smart Notebook. I have to open up that test. Here it is. I called it Training. Okay, we did a Civil War one when we in the last video that I used. I'm sorry, I've made a mistake here. Responder test is where I stored it. That's what I was looking for there. So what I want to pull up is the Civil War Notebook response test, and this is where I've created that answer key. So while that's loading, let me recap. I logged into the response teacher tools. I turned the class on. I started the class. The students can start logging in. Once I'm ready and I have all my students logged in, I pull up the test that I created the day before or during my prep work. From here, I can see now the information that I showed you in the previous video where we created the test. I want to start at the title page, and what I'd like to do is go over here to the responder icon, select the responder icon. You get a summary of the test. From here, you have a couple different options. You can look through your material. You can make sure that this is how it's supposed to be set up. To me, the important, or one of the most important parts of all this is right here where it says feedback. Basically, what will happen after the students take the assessment is it has the option to provide them the responses or the answers to the assessment, or whether or not they got it right or wrong. If you're giving a formal assessment first period and they're also taking a similar test second or third period or sometime throughout the day, then you probably don't want the students to see the results. So what you're going to want to do is where it says show results to students, you're going to want to choose don't show the grades on the clickers. That way on the responders there's no grade shown, there's no right or wrong shown. That's if you're giving a formal assessment. If you want the students to see the results, you want them to see the answer, you have different options. You can show them the answer after they answer each question. You can show them the question, or the answer I should say, after all questions are answered, or after you stop collecting responses. And that's when you hit stop this assessment. So I'm going to choose don't show the grades on the clickers, and I'm going to come up here to start this assessment. Now once I start this assessment, the students will now have access to answering the questions in the test. Again, the test is sitting at their desk. They're not seeing any of this information. This is only on your computer screen, not on the smartboard. I'm going to click start this assessment, and now from there I can go through the test and I can watch as students, I can monitor students as I'm walking around the room and then checking back on my computer. I can see who we're waiting for to finish the entire test, and nobody's logged in because this is an example one. But if there's students who were logged in, you would see their names there. I can also see a results preview. Once students log in and actually take some of the assessment, I can see a preview of the results. I can also change from slide to slide and look at direct information per question. I can see who hasn't answered this specific question, and I can also see results preview from this specific question. Once all the students have finished the assessment, what I want to do first is go to the title page and make sure that everybody's finished. If you have a student who says that they're finished with the assessment, but their name still appears here, then what they've done is they've not clicked finished. You want to make sure to tell your students that they have to click finished on the assessment. Clicking finished on their clickers is like turning in the test. Once they've done all that, then you're ready to stop the assessment, and you can just click right here. It gives you a name of the assessment. So I'm going to stop the Civil War assessment. It collects the results, and now what I've got here back in the teacher tools is a recording of the assessment. Again, nobody took assessments, but if they had taken the assessments, the recording would be here. I could click on assessments and go through and look at the student results. One thing that I like to do is save my results. So I like to save the results inside the Smart Notebook. They're automatically saved in the teacher tools, but I like to save them inside the Smart Notebook. So I'm going to go up to Smart Notebook and click File and Save As. I don't want to save it as of the original copy because I may want to use this test again. But instead I want to save it as Civil War, let's say, period 1 results. Some people would say that you're overdoing that. You don't have to do that because the results are stored in the response teacher tools. But I like to have a copy here, and then I also like to have a copy here in the notebook as well. So you don't have to do this step, but this is something that I would suggest. So I'm going to click Save. I may create a folder on my desktop and store these results in that folder. Again, you don't have to do that.